Here's something pretty hilarious about high achievers, business owners, leaders, entrepreneurs. We've become absolutely brilliant at revving up our nervous systems, but we've forgotten how to wind down, how to genuinely relax. And this imbalance isn't just making us reactive and stressed, it's having a far greater impact. It's actually limiting our capacity for the very success we're chasing professionally, personally, and how we're experiencing our lives as a whole. Hey there, beautiful human. My name's Dan Kalapsky, and for over a decade now, I've been working with entrepreneurs, founders, and high performers on nervous system regulation, integrating mind and the body. And just last month at our leadership retreat, our deep dive retreat, something super fascinating had happened. And it wasn't for the first time. When I had all of these successful business leaders assess themselves, every single one of them placed themselves extremely high on their capacity to activate and scored themselves remarkably low on their capacity to genuinely relax. And so in this video, I'm going to walk you through what I call the window of tolerance framework. The window of tolerance is essentially your capacity to activate relative to your capacity to downregulate, to genuinely relax. It's a super useful framework that explains why activation without genuine relaxation sabotages your performance, your relationships, and your inner well-being. And by the end of this video, you'll understand how to develop what I call a relaxed intensity, the sweet spot where you can meet life fully, the full spectrum of life. So your nervous system, contrary to popular belief, is not designed for happiness. Your nervous system is designed to keep you alive, to have you survive. It is a messenger carrier that sends these messages around looking to have you be able to thrive and survive in an environment. Okay, now let's walk through what the window of tolerance is, and I'm going to give you this perfect illustration of it. So I'll draw this line here. We go one across here. This line here is your baseline. Now, anything above this baseline, let's call that activation. Anything below this baseline, let's call it relaxation. So above the line, you've got your capacity to activate, which might be scored at 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way through to 10. Below the baseline, you've got your capacity to genuinely relax, also scored at a 1, 2, 3, all the way through to a 10. Your window of tolerance is essentially your capacity to activate relative to your capacity to downregulate. Okay, so this window here would be that large. So what is your capacity to activate relative to your capacity to genuinely relax? It's your main capacity to remain present, grounded, resourceful when life gets challenging. Think of it as having two ranges: your activation capacity, how much stress, pressure, and intensity you can actually handle while staying effective, while staying grounded and rooted within yourself, being able to make decisions. And your relaxation capacity, how quickly and deeply you can down regulate, rest, and restore. Remember that fitness is your capacity to recover and how quickly that occurs. Whether that's fitness from a stress response that it's occurred emotionally, or fitness from a physical response that's occurred, like you going for a run, you finished your run, how long does it take you to actually come back to homeostasis, to a steady state heart rate? When you're operating within your optimal window, you can think clearly and respond rather than be reactive, reacting in the way that you've only ever known how to, rather than to what's actually in front of you. What this does, it allows you to access your full creative and problem-solving abilities. Most successful people that we have come through our retreats, what I've seen is them step up to the whiteboard and they score themselves at their capacity to activate, right up here, somewhere thereabouts. Then they score themselves at their capacity to downregulate. And they draw a line somewhere around here. Might be a 1, 2, or 3. And all of a sudden, you can see the window that they've got is this narrower window with a huge capacity to activate, but that needs to be rebalanced somewhere. And you can see that the lack of capacity to genuinely relax means that they're not able to come back into right relationship and balance with their nervous system. Essentially, what we see with high level entrepreneurs and leaders and business owners is this thing that we call propping. With propping, let's just say your actual capacity is at a 9 here, and the leader, the business owner, yourself, find yourself up here, activating, doing, being able to deal with a lot of the stresses, and you feel like you're functioning really, really well. Kind of like a functioning alcoholic, where in the moment and even afterwards, it's kind of like, I've got this, I've got this, I've got this. I knew this super, super well. But what tends to happen, we're up here propping, 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 and boom, we get this huge collapse. And the collapse can come in many forms, whether that's burnout, which would be more significant, or some people turn to substances to give them this complete crash to be able to just zonk out completely and then come and shoot back up into propping, 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 propping. And so the cycle continues until it can't anymore because the body says stop. And so what are we after? Are we wanting to simply be able to relax a lot, slow right down? Activation's bad. We don't want to activate too much. No, because then we have the same problem. Our capacity to downregulate is not met with a capacity to upregulate. Someone who has a high capacity to activate and has a low capacity to genuinely relax might fall into burnout, exhaustion, and so on. Someone that has a low capacity to activate and a high capacity, scored at a 9 or 10, to relax, they might really struggle to get going in life. So, what we're wanting to do is not have this person come straight down to here and, hey, we would really want you to bring your activation down to the same level that you're able to relax. Yeah. Why would we not want to do that? Well, essentially, if we do this, then what we're doing with a system that is used to being up here is bringing in too much contrast, too much of a shock to the system. And all of a sudden, the whole system freaks out because of the contrast between what they're used to on a day to day basis. We want to gently bring this down so that there's not as much exhaustion, and gently bring this up as well. If the system is not used to relaxing at a 9 or 10, and you all of a sudden do that, you often see or hear or may have experienced that, you're working, 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 you take time off and all of a sudden you're sick. We're wanting to gently expand these windows so that we have an even, more or less window on either side, and we can expand that, expand that, expand that, and continue to apply stress, remembering that activation and stress is not a bad thing. We simply want to be able to engage activation in a healthy way. And what does that mean, to be able to engage in a healthy way? Well, it essentially means to be able to engage in work, engage in life, engage with the family, the conversations, with yourself, with the exercise, with all of it, with a layer of relaxation in real time, both simultaneously. Many people feel that we're either in activation, either in sympathetic, and then we're not in parasympathetic and we're not in relaxation. This is one of the biggest fallacies that gets spread in this world of inner work. Both are playing out at all times, and we're just wanting them to continue to balance themselves out. Balance, and the fallacy of balance is that it is not a static thing. No, I'm balanced. For how long? It's constantly sensing and responding rather than us trying to predict and control where we are in any given moment. And so here's what happens when your window becomes imbalanced, out of balance, as I've just shown you. You might be crushing it in business or in the business, but you're taking things personally with your partner. You're brilliant in meetings, but small client emails ruin your entire evening. Or you can handle $1 million decisions, but you can't switch off when your head hits the pillow. You get into the car, you get home, wherever you are, you might even be in the sauna, and you simply cannot switch off, and it continues at the same rate. Remembering that activation isn't the enemy. We are designed to activate. We are designed for stress. If we don't stress, then we decay. But we want to allow for a healthy level of stress, not excessive constant stress above our window of tolerance, which is what we're calling propping. So I'm going to show you the energy cycle, which can also be called the stress cycle, stress response, or the trauma cycle. Now, I'm only going to show you this in brief detail as it's applied here for this video. However, if you want to watch the full video, then watch the next video that comes up after this. Okay, so this is the energy cycle. And essentially, business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders have, generally speaking, developed the capacity to activate really, really well, to get a lot of stuff done, to engage and to make big decisions. Activation is what entrepreneurs, business owners have gotten incredibly good at, but they just don't seem to shift out of that activation mode frequently enough for long enough in a way that also doesn't take the edge off of their capacity to activate. And there's a whole intertwine of systems that are playing out here, from the nervous system to your hormonal endocrine system and the way that you are perceiving reality, which is why attending to all of these is really useful. And what we find is breath sits at the center of this. And so right now, in creating this video, you might notice that there's a level of activation required from me to create this, but there's also this level of relaxation that's occurring within my body, within my system as I'm activated. So getting stuck in that activated state because we've never learned how to move through what we call the contemplation or integration phase, which is this final piece here where your nervous system processes and integrates what just happened. It doesn't need to be highly traumatic, but any situation, it requires a rebalancing and a processing of the energy that the nervous system provided the system with to be able to get through it. In the same way that you might see a gazelle that's been chased by a pride of lions, nervous system gives it a boost of energy. It manages to get away. And once it gets away, if you keep watching the gazelle, it'll shake for 90 seconds to 2 minutes, processing that energy and then walking off like nothing's happened. I see this constantly with the entrepreneurs that I work with. They'll have this incredible day. They'll close a deal, or the business has a massive win, or they'll nail the presentation, solve a crisis, whatever it might be. And instead of allowing their nervous system to celebrate and integrate, they immediately move on to the next activation. I challenge you to challenge the idea that it is not possible to allow in that bit of relaxation, that window of relaxation, or the layer of relaxation. At this point in time, it is your choice. At some point in time, it will no longer be your choice to take on and receive that relaxation and integration. What I want you to do right now is get into your car and rev the engine and stay there. Keep the foot down for the next 6 hours at the 8-9 mark. What is going to happen to your car? And it won't take too long. That's just in the lifetime frame of your car. Now imagine the lifetime frame of your body, of you here as a human being. And here's the thing. Your nervous system is biological, but not only, it's so heavily influenced by so many other systems. How you perceive the world, consciousness, endocrine, hormonal system. You can't just think your way into relaxation any more than you can think your way into digesting your lunch. This is what the nervous system naturally does. But we've interrupted the process with our thinking minds and our incessant needs to continue to drive. Am I saying do not ever drive? Am I saying stop 50% of your drive? Not at all. Quite the opposite. What we're after is what I call a dynamic balance. The capacity to both activate fully and downregulate relative to one another. This is where breath work becomes absolutely crucial. It has changed my life and all of those that I know that have engaged with it. How you breathe is how you think. And when we're breathing shallow and restricted, our thinking becomes narrow, shallow, and tunnel visioned. Breathing deep and rhythmic, your thinking becomes more spacious and creative. And both of these are useful. But here's what most people get wrong about breath work. They think it's just about calming down. Well, actually, that's only half the equation. And the way that we approach FBR, facilitated breath repatterning, of which there are only 100 plus practitioners in the world, is this is a practice of healthy activation, healthy relaxation, and how that translates positively into your personal and professional life. What this does is it allows a completion of that cycle from beginning to end. We're working with both ranges to be able to meet life with what I call a relaxed intensity, a relaxation in the face of the intensity of an emotion that might be arising, in the face of a situation that might be arising that might be experienced as intense. You're not losing your edge. You're not becoming less driven. You're becoming more resourceful, more resilient, and ironically, more effective in everything that you are engaging in your life, personally with your family, but yourself in your own time, and then also work. So let's bring some awareness to where you are at right now. What is your current window? Right now, as you're watching this, what's happening in your body? Awareness. It's gold. It's nectar. Here's a quick way to assess your current window. So on a scale of 1 to 10, rate your capacity to handle pressure, stress, intensity. Yeah. The most high performers will rate this pretty high, potentially at a 7, 8, or 9. Now, rate your capacity to fully relax, to let go, to be present without an agenda. Be honest so that you can get the most out of this. And most high performers and leaders will rate this at about a 2, 3, or 4. Now, between these numbers, you've got what we call a window, whether that's balanced or imbalanced. And if it is imbalanced, it shows up everywhere in your health, chronic stress, poor sleep, that constant mental chatter, in your relationships, being reactive, taking things too personally, difficulty in being truly present with loved ones when they're speaking. And in your business, making decisions from stress rather than clarity and lightness, and burning out your team as a result of your own burnout, missing opportunities that require patience and presence. So, how do you actually develop a healthy window? What I want to point on is, although I've used the word imbalanced, what we're pointing to here is your potential. This imbalance is pointing to your potential, your inherent potential as a human being to broaden your flexibility and capacity in your breath and simultaneously in how you think, and therefore how you behave and show up and actually get to experience this beautiful gift we call a human life. For ambitious, successful people who struggle to relax, there's a two-pronged approach that we use in our facilitated breath repatterning work and mind somatic integration in the 90-day nervous system mastery program. So with this two-pronged approach, the first approach is around allowing for a deep nervous system reset, allowing the nervous system to remain light and agile so that it can respond to life situations with a lightness, with an agility, but still the full depth and sincerity that's required by the situation, professionally and personally. The second prong is around accessing deeper, unconscious parts of the human psyche that are influencing 90% of the decisions that you are making on a day-to-day basis. Allowing these reflexes in the low brain to come to more of a completion, if not a full completion, moving into the midbrain and therefore no longer influencing 90% of those decisions that you are making. This is liberation. This is freedom from the past which served you well but may no longer be. This is about allowing your nervous system to complete those incomplete stress cycles, incomplete reflexes, and recalibrate to a healthier baseline, a healthier, more balanced window of tolerance. Letting your nervous system and the wisdom and intelligence of your nervous system and body to take over and your mind to take more of a backseat, we help you process the accumulated activation and keep your nervous system feeling light and agile. And here's where it gets super interesting. Most high achievers are deriving their sense of value and worth from their external success rather than achieving external success from a place of deep inner fulfillment and inherent value as a human being before a single finger has been lifted. Can you feel the difference there? One approach says, I'll be enough when I achieve this. The other says, I'm already enough. I'm already whole. And from this place of fulfillment, let's see what wants and can be created. It doesn't mean that the mind doesn't have its parts arising, but what's sitting underneath that, you are in connection with the deepest part of you and a realized sense of self versus the mind doing simply what the mind does. We are not calling this the enemy, but we just want to see the activity of the thinking mind for what it is and not be identified so closely with it. This is where freedom truly, truly lies for us as human beings without needing to become a Buddha sitting on a mountain for extended periods of time, unless that's your actual calling in this lifetime. Now, if you're recognizing parts of yourself or even just one thing's landed from what we've explored today, and you want support developing both a healthier window of tolerance and addressing those deeper patterns around worth, success, and achievement, or maybe even your identity and who are you, I've put together a comprehensive resource that breaks down the window of tolerance. There's a link in the description below. You can watch a quick video about how I work with entrepreneurs and founders on this exact kind of nervous system and mind somatic integration work. Feel free to check it out if this resonates, and I will be personally jumping on every consultation, so you'd be speaking directly with me. Here's what I want to leave you with. Developing relaxed intensity isn't about becoming less driven or less successful or even stopping your ambitions. It's about shifting from achieving because you're not enough to achieving because you're realized you're already whole. It's about building that nervous system foundation so that your success comes from a deep fulfillment rather than compensation for something that's perceived to not be there, a lack of. So start paying attention to your own window of tolerance. And more importantly, start asking yourself this question. Am I creating from a place of inherent worth, or am I trying to create my worth through what I achieve? It's a big question. It can be tender, but your nervous system will tell you the truth. It'll speak the truth. You'll know deep down. And so simply listen and as you do this, start to notice something beautiful happening. Your capacity for both peak performance, which has got such a bad rap, and deep rest will start to expand simultaneously. And that's when real sustainable success becomes possible in a healthy and generative way. As mentioned previously, if you're wanting to understand your specific stress cycle response in specific situations and contexts in your life, then make sure you watch my next video on the stress cycle. Together in deep work, rest, and play. See you on the other side.